thank you for joining my live this morning or watching it back if you are. As always, if you have any questions or you're watching this back and you want to ask any questions, drop them in the comments or drop me a private message and I'll get back to you with those questions. So I wanted to talk about macros today. So if there's someone in your workplace or there's someone like yourself that's counting macros and wanting to create change with a diet, then this is something that you'll want to watch. So I called it Why is Mark from Marketing Counting Macros? Because someone in your workplace like Mark from marketing might be doing it and you might be wondering why. And so first we'll start off with what are macros. So macros are the macronutrients that make up the different food groups. So we have the amount of calories that we consume, and then within that amount of calories we have it's made up of carbs, proteins and fats. So these three main macros are what make up the big chunk of our calories. So carbs, things like potatoes, pasta, rice, noodles, even things like fruit, vegetables, they're all carbs as well, but a different type of carb because it's mostly fibre rather than complex carbs. Then you have protein, which is like your eggs, fish, chicken, mince, things like that in the protein. Then you also have fats like avocados, oils, the unhealthier fats like saturated fats, chocolate, stuff like that. But what you'll also find is that yes, there's these three food groups, but actually some foods will go into all three. So say, for example, a pizza isn't just high in fat, there's actually a lot of carbs in a pizza as well because of the dough, but then the fats comes from the cheese. And then also any other chicken, you can have protein on it as well. So you'll find that one food could have a lot of different carbs, protein and fats in them. So this is why I always think that counting macros is actually quite difficult, because it's not just that you're counting one thing. Like if a pizza, you count the calories, the main thing, how it all adds together. Pizza might be 1,000 calories, that's it, that's all you have to count. And if you're counting macros, you have to go, right, so that's got that many carbs in, this amount of protein, that amount of fat, and now I'm going to have some garlic bread as well, which has got that amount of protein, carbs and fat. So you've got a lot of maths going on because you've kind of got the carbs, protein and the fats that you have to add up all the time, rather than just the big overall calories at the top. So this is where you'd actually then have to track your calories and your macros by using a nutrition tracker like MyFitnessPal or something, where it will add it all up yourself. But then if you're getting towards the end of the day and thinking, oh, I've got so many amount of carbs to eat or fats to eat, it's then trying to find that food. So it just makes it very complicated, I think, counting macros, unless you've got a plan to follow, which isn't really ideal for a lot of us, because a lot of us have busy lives with kids, have a lot going on, partners, so following just a specific plan for you isn't always ideal. So this is where people say macros is a flexible way of dieting, but it's actually not. It ends up becoming quite rigid. So if you do want to count calories or some sort of monitoring of your intake, then I would kind of suggest more so looking at calories overall, and then the carbs, fats will work out itself. So if you are just counting calories, make sure that the one thing you are looking at out those macros is the protein. You want to make sure that you're getting enough protein in each meal. Most of the time we want to be aiming for around 30 to 50 grams per meal if we're having 3 to 4 meals per day. If you work shifts or if you're struggling with getting all those meals in, you might only want 2 meals a day, or you might only have time to fit in 2 meals a day, then you'll want to bump it up to more like 50 to maybe even 100 grams, depending how big those meals are. The best way to get the protein up as well is not by having like loads and loads of chicken in one meal to get it as high as you can, but more so, so say you've had your chicken salad and a bit of bread, that might have 30 grams of protein in. You then might want to have like a protein yogurt or a protein shake afterwards, so it's all kind of intaken in that same meal. So yes, counting macros can get quite complicated because you've got those three things to count and they're all different in different foods and you need to track it. So I would suggest overall looking at your calories, making sure you hit your protein because that's your one you want nice and high. Carbs and fats, a lot of research show that, especially for fat loss, it doesn't actually matter how you make up the rest of your calories from the proteins and fats. So the percentages or the ratios, the amount of grams of carbs per fats that you have doesn't really matter as long as the overall calories is the amount of calories that you need to get through every day, or just under if you're trying to lose fat. There is also, when you look into the fat, there is a minimum amount that you do want to be having. Most of us will achieve this through having things like nuts, seeds, olive oils, eggs. We will get enough fat. So it's not really something that we need to really look into. We will most of the time have that. And like I say, the calories will sort themselves out. So it just makes our lives a little bit easier, not counting macros as they are. Obviously, I'm not saying don't ever do it and that no one ever should, but for a lot of us, it's easier just to look at the overall calories and then the protein targets. But I'm not also saying that carbs and fats don't matter, and it doesn't matter how little or many we have. We do mostly want a lot of carbs, and this is what a lot of people end up cutting out. But we don't have to count them to actually achieve that. What we could just do is make sure that we're getting a portion of carbs in each meal, because we need carbs for overall brain function, overall movement. Like our body uses carbs all the time, so people will cut them out thinking that the carbs are making them fat, but it's not. It's the overall calories and how everything's added up. So carbs, best way to make sure you're getting plenty is to make sure you're having a portion in each meal. So for breakfast it might be something like oats, or like a whole grain bread, or cereals. So that could be what you have in the morning. Lunchtime, it could be something like pita bread, wraps, bread if you've not had it at breakfast. I'm not saying that you can't have bread at breakfast and lunch, but it's just you want a bit of variety in your diet as well. Things like couscous, quinoa, rice, noodles or potatoes, all those things you can have at your lunch or dinner as well. So that'll make sure that you've got plenty of carbs in there, because we don't just want to remove those either. So like I said, they're very important for brain function. Our brain actually uses glucose, which comes from carbs. So you want to try and make sure we're getting those in each meal. So in summary, if someone in your workplace or someone that you know is counting macros for their fitness goal, you don't have to go in there and go, oh, you don't need to do that, or that you shouldn't be doing that. If that works for them, that's cool. But what I'm saying is that you don't need to do that if you're finding it difficult, and you don't need to copy anyone if you find that it's quite overwhelming to count calories, count the macros, keep on track of everything. What you could actually just do is look at each meal, make sure you've got a portion of protein in each one, make sure you've got a portion of carbs in each one, and then the fats will most of the time work themselves out, because most of us include like eggs, olive oils, nuts, seeds, things like that in our diets anyway, fish as well. So yes, that's the overall about macros. So again, you've got your big calories at the top, protein, carbs and fats. If you want to keep track of anything, keep portion sizes, then yes, you could use MyFitnessPal, get a little feel for it, but none of it is forever. It's more of a tool that's kind of for now rather than in the future. So yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Again, if you do have any questions about the pointers that I've had today, obviously ask away. I'm here not to say what's right or wrong, but more talk about the different ways that we can approach our diet with the different time that we have available to make those changes, and just help us all live healthier, happier lives. So yeah, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments and we'll have a discussion either on the comments or I'll drop you a private message as well. Thanks for joining. See you soon.